Okay, so we hear so much about AI in education, right? It's all over the place. But what does that actually look like, in the real world? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to break down a real live tutoring session that honestly, it might just be a glimpse into the future of learning for all of us. So let's just start with this one simple but really powerful question. It kind of gets to the heart of everything we're talking about today. What if your teacher truly knew you? And I don't just mean knowing your name. I'm talking about knowing where you live, what you're actually passionate about, and pinpointing the exact second you start to get lost or confused. For decades, this has been the biggest hurdle in education. Most of our learning tools, they just follow this really rigid, straight path. It's a one-size-fits-all approach that, let's be honest, usually ends up being a one-size-fits-none. And this right here, this really lays out the two worlds of e-learning we've been living in. On the left, you've got the old way, right? The boring stuff, standard drills, dry textbook explanations. But on the right, that's where things get exciting. We're talking about immersive storytelling, personalized examples that are, get this, hyper-local. And making that leap from one side to the other, that's the game changer we're exploring. So how do we make that leap? Well, we're looking at a totally new kind of AI. It's one that acts less like a stiff old program and way more like an intuitive personal coach who's right there with you. And it all kicks off with a simple, direct introduction. Now, pay attention to the words here. It's not calling itself a program or an app or a tool. No, right from the very first sentence, it's framing itself as your personal coach, your partner in this. Okay, so let's meet our student for this session, Darren. He's prepping for the LSAT, which is the big test for getting into law school. Now, just watch how the AI immediately starts to build the entire experience around him, and only him. So Darren mentions he's in Philly. And right away, instantly, the AI doesn't serve up some generic, boring legal question. Nope, it creates scenarios about Philly zoning laws and businesses in Kensington. That's hyperlocalization, and it's happening in real time. It's incredible. But then, here we go. Here's the first test. Darren corrects the AI. He says, actually, I'm not in Philly. I'm in New York. So how's the AI going to handle this? A new piece of information just thrown at it. And look at that. The AI doesn't stumble. It doesn't get confused or ask a bunch of follow-up questions. Without missing a single beat, Philly zoning disputes become problems with a midtown landlord. Kensington businesses become Soho boutiques. The entire world of the lesson just shifts instantly from one little correction. And then Darren takes it even further. He's not just a passive learner here. He adds another layer, telling the AI he's really interested in criminal law. And he asks it point blank to give him more questions about that. He is literally directing his own curriculum. How cool is that? This is where it gets really, really interesting, because we're moving beyond just personalizing the content. We're talking about personalizing the method. It's not just about what you learn anymore, it's about how you learn it. And this AI shows it can listen not just to what you're interested in, but to your cognitive state, how you're feeling. Right here, Darren starts to feel a little overwhelmed. So he just asks, give it to me slower though. And the response, it's immediate, and frankly, it's empathetic. Got it, Darren? I'll give you one question at a time. The AI isn't just processing words, it's understanding the human need behind them and changing its entire pace. And it doesn't stop there. The AI actually notices that Darren is struggling. So what does it do? It simplifies the problem on its own, cutting down the number of multiple choice answers. Now, this isn't about just helping him get the right answer. It's about building his confidence and making sure he doesn't get discouraged and just give up. Then we get to what might be the biggest challenge for any teacher, human or AI. Darren hits a wall. He's stuck on a complex idea, and he makes this direct plea. Simplify it, break it down for me. The concept he's stuck on is chain of custody. Now, this is a super important, but also kind of abstract legal idea about tracking evidence. A textbook would just throw this dry, formal definition at you, but that is not what Darren needs right now. So the AI does something, well, it's pretty remarkable. It invents a custom analogy on the spot using what it already knows about him. It says, "Okay, Darren, imagine you ordered some custom sneakers from a designer in Soho. The package shows up, but it just sits there in your building's unlocked mailroom for 6 whole hours. All of a sudden, this abstract problem becomes a real, tangible story. And boom, this is the magic moment. You see it right here, that super abstract legal jargon, a 6-hour gap in the evidence log. What does that even mean to most of us? Well, it suddenly becomes something we can all feel. 6 hours in an unlocked mailroom. We all get that. The AI didn't just explain it. It built a bridge from confusion to clarity using a story made just for Darren. And that's when it all clicks. So, what does this one little interaction with Darren tell us about the much bigger picture? I think we're seeing the blueprint for a whole new wave in education, one that's built on a foundation of genuine connection and deep adaptation. Let's just call it the new wave of e-learning. I mean, think about what we just saw. We saw a hyper-personalized journey that jumped from Philly to New York in a second. We saw truly adaptive pacing that slowed down just because the student asked. We saw empathetic feedback that simplified the challenge to build confidence. We got culturally competent scenarios that used local spots in New York. And, maybe most important of all, we saw it make a really complex idea totally relatable with this simple story about sneakers. And that really brings us to the big final thought here. The technology is obviously powerful, we just saw that. But the real question is this: what happens to learning, to opportunity, to human potential when every single student, no matter their background, gets access to a coach that's this patient, this personal, and this perceptive? What does that world look like?